Where are you?
I am in Toronto, so I'm in the Annex. I don't know how familiar you are with. Actually, you gave you gave our city a shout out in the Mastermind, so thank you for that. Do you know the Annex in Toronto?
I don't know the annex.
So Margaret Atwood lives here. It's just a little artistic enclave, just about 5 minutes away from where the TIFF Bell Lightbox Cinema is. It's just one of those random neighborhoods that has been sort of at least aesthetically preserved by the city. Anyways, I'm going to get right into this just for the sake of time. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for doing this. You wrote, directed, and edited this film, which never fails to amaze me. Like the amount of times I see that, it just stops you in your tracks, because it means that so much of what you're seeing on screen is coming, I want to say, from the same mind or from one mind. But at the same time, I feel like there are three different versions of Kelly that's at work here. So in the time that I have you, I want to sort of just investigate these three different versions of you as a writer, a director, and an editor. From the writerly aspect, I think the first thing that stands out to me is that this is an art heist film, and for most films in this genre, the art that's stolen is usually the Rembrandts, the Picassos, etc. But you chose instead the art of a real life artist by the name of Arthur Dove. And I think the point of that, or at least just summarizing, the point of that is looks like you did not want to select a big name artist. So my question then is, why Arthur Dove? Like, what is the significance of him to you specifically?
Well, I'm an Arthur Dove fan, and you have to admit the name is quite nice for my film. And I kind of slotted when I was working on the script, I sort of, I like Arthur Dove, and it was like, I just put him in there, and I thought, oh, I'll deal with the art later. And then I went through lots of trying a lot of different things, names that were too big, or themes, or if I put a landscape in, what that did to it, or if it was not abstract and were portraits, or if they were women. I mean, everything added this big thing to the story. And Dove's work, to me, seemed to, I came back to it because, he's thought to be like America's first abstract painter. And there's something about his work to me that I feel like would appeal to a woodworker. And I liked the idea of his father being confused about not being able to see the value in it, and Mooney being able to see the beauty of it. And so I liked that there was that weird generational thing that the abstract art offered. And there's something, when I found the I Am Pei building, which is really a library in Indiana that plays for the outside of the museum, I could then think, like, what, if this is your neighborhood museum, like in an industrial town, like what fits in this? And I actually found one photo. I mean, Dove wasn't being widely shown in the 70s or in 1970. And in 1970, I found one photo of a gallery showing of Doves, and they looked great together. And I knew, like, also that it existed, that it happened. And so all these things worked, and Dove came back into being in the story. And in a very practical note, I have a friend who works at the Phillips collection in DC that houses the biggest collection of Doves. So I thought, okay, here's someone I can even start to have a conversation with about how do you get art for a movie.
Another, I think, writerly question, or something you'd have to contend with as a writer, is this idea of believability, or at least relatability to the people who are watching this film. And there are a couple of things here. First of all, I think while it's believable that, someone in the 70s could have a 2-children, 2-car household on one income, that's certainly believable. It certainly is not relatable to a 2025 audience. But I think something that's even harder to relate to is the lack of camera or digital surveillance that makes this film possible. Because every time I was watching, I was like, well, that can't happen. That's not possible. Did you find yourself having to take your mind out of that sort of default setting of, wait, I'm allowed to actually write this because it's the 70s, that there isn't a camera on every corner?
Right. I mean, the snatch and grab was pretty popular, was happening. The Gardner Museum heist, which is one of the more famous ones because of the amount of art stolen and never recovered in Boston, put the into that, and people started hiring, it wasn't like retirees or college kids guarding the art anymore. And also people got rid of the circular drives and started installing cameras. But interestingly, one of the things about it was shooting something it's not really in the 70s yet. It's 1970 in the script. So like on the cusp of becoming the 70s and the end of the 60s. In post, like we found a lot of places we could shoot with a remarkable amount of like that we could turn our way physically on location into working for 1970. But the one thing that's everywhere and had to be painted out digitally are cameras. I mean, cameras, I became so much more aware, not just of all the crap that's everywhere added, handrails that don't go with the design of the building, or lighting that is not considered with the design of the building, or whatever it is, but cameras, everywhere cameras. And seeing the I Am Pei building with all that crap painted out of it, like how it was meant to be and designed to be, was so fantastic. Just like watching some of the crap disappear was really great.
I think the least relatable aspect of this film is the idea that people care enough about art to steal it. And that there's
People will steal art.
They do. And I think my question is, how do you contend with that in a 2025? Because yes, this is a period film, understandably, but we're in a 2025 where people care so much more about entertainment than art. And this idea of a black market for abstract art.
There is a black market for abstract. You start looking, start paying attention, you'll see art. If you start paying attention to it, you're not going to believe how much art thievery goes on. It goes on in a different way. A lot of super wealthy people just hoard art and put it in. But I'm amazed. Like, I was just in Rome and I couldn't get through the museums as for all the people in it. And I live in New York half of the year. And granted, people are there taking selfies of themselves in front of the art. I grant you that. But I don't know, maybe I live in a bubble, but I would not like to think of getting through these times without any art to offset and nourish myself and nourish, and be part of the conversation, my friends, or for that matter, with my students. And when you see, I mean, if art didn't matter, like Trump wouldn't be taking over all of our cultural institutions, which he is. And so please, it's all depressing enough. Don't make me believe that art doesn't matter anymore.
This is really good. I'll happily take that as the answer. There's a piece in this issue that you'll be a part of that's simply titled "Art is Dead." And it's a conversation with a comedian that makes quite the opposite argument that you're making here. At least for the sake of balance, I think both perspectives are valid. So I'll move. Sorry, just one more thing. So this film, The Mastermind. It's a art heist film, but the heist happens in the first act, or like the first 10 minutes of the film. So there isn't that typical buildup that is almost status quo when it comes to a lot of art heist films. And the whole time that I was watching, and the last time that I felt this way was watching a film called A Man Escaped, which is it's a Robert Bresson film. You've probably seen it. And it's hilarious, and I bring it up because the title tells you what will happen. A man is going to escape. Yet you sit there for 90 minutes thinking surely he doesn't escape, and then obviously at the very end he escapes. And I felt the same thing with The Mastermind, because in a way the title is telling you what happens. When we see the word mastermind used in media, and especially on the news, it's because the suspects have already been apprehended, questions have been asked, and the mastermind has been determined. So in a way, I'm sitting through this nearly 2-hour film knowing that someone is going to get caught, and yet the whole time I'm thinking, well, no, that can't be yet. So my question for you is it still a heist film if the heist happens, number one, in the first 10 minutes of the film? And if the heist is sort of not the point?
I don't know. I don't really know what it's called, but it is true. It doesn't follow the typical structure. And by design, I thought of it more as a coming undone film than a heist film. And yeah, the genre is kind of a stepping off point, but not to put the paintings matter and art matters. I just want to go back to that point. And I mean, why give way to just commerce and efficiency being the only thing that matters? I refuse. But anyway, sorry, I'm losing track. Oh, I didn't think of the Mastermind as being determinative as far as the title went, but more in the vein of like perhaps like a George Simenon novel. You kind of know, like at least in his hard novels, you know that like doom is, you kind of know when you seep into it that doom is part of the equation, probably. But, in A Man Escaped, yeah, you do, the title does give you everything, but you're still, in fact, it doesn't matter. You're still like hanging on and watching the process. I mean, it's really about process, his films, I think, to a large degree. And the more, and it's so, you're so with him and, you're invested in it. And so that's like the power of narrative, I guess.
I like that you use the word inefficiency or efficiency because this film has a lot of just beautiful cars that are very aerodynamic, which is very simpatico with the design of cars back in the 70s. Your Buicks, your Oldsmobiles. They're very clunky. They're very boxy. So I think this is fun.
They're very loud.
They're very loud, yes.
Yeah, they're loud.
Which made me feel like it was, first of all, did you become a car person through making this film? Because there were a lot of just glamour shots of really beautiful cars watching this.
Oh, a glamour shot. That's a slap in the face. No, I've never had a glamour shot in my film. But the cars are beautiful. I mean, what would Stephen Shore be without the beautiful cars of the 70s? And that design mattered and color mattered. And I mean, they existed. That's, they look like that to us now as, like you say, a glamour shot, because we live in a world of brown, gray, black, and gray, black, and white are the colors of it's cheaper for the manufacturer, of course. And I mean, going to buy a car is just such a
Recording in
task.
progress.
Fuck off with this computer and the recordings. Oh my God. But I mean, all of those things, I mean, I'm a big Stephen Shore fan, and what I love about cars, a lot of it comes from his photos. And pretty much all the cars we used in the film were, I had a Volkswagen, my parents had the Nova, my grandmother had a Rambler, so they were familiar. And it's so horrible shooting in new cars. The views suck. There's no good angle. The seats are really high. There's no good angle. And so to be able to shoot in a car with a big windshield and low seats, of course you can't aim your camera at everything because it's a period piece and it's not a period world. But I've been waiting forever to shoot in a good car.
Right.